Hey, welcome back guys, and today we're going to be talking about the balanced adjustment or the patch notes coming on the 3rd of August. Now as you guys can see, we have quite a few changes here. We do have 2 Moonlight units being changed in Ruele of Light and Lionheart Cermia. We have 3 RGB 5-star units in Haste, Tenebria, and Mort, a 4-star Covenant unit in Silk, and a 3-star Moonlight unit in Suthan, as well as 3 artifacts. We have 2 5-star artifacts in Rise of a Monarch, a Knight artifact, as well as Duct Noctis, a Ranger artifact, which is actually running in the current Pavel banner, so if the buffs are good enough, you might want to buy it with your Powder of Knowledge, and a 4-star Knight artifact in Steadfast Gatekeeper. We also have a debuff being changed in Restrict. Now, Restrict has been changed in the past, so we'll see what the changes are actually this time and see if it will change the meta a lot. So first off, let's talk about Ruele of Light really quickly. First off, she's going to heal more with her S1. Before, it would scale with the target she is healing's max HP. So if it was a squishy unit, you would actually not heal that much, but now because it scales with her own max HP, the heal will be a lot better. Now we also have her S2. So her S2 is now also going to give her a CR push of 25%. So basically these buffs don't really mean that much, to be honest. The healing is okay, but the healing will still be pretty bad, I'm guessing, because if it's like Destina's S1, the heal will still be very negligible. And then her S2 giving her CR doesn't really matter too much because sure, you want to cycle more as Ruele, but you're mostly going to S3 only once in a battle, especially for Guild Wars Offense or World Arena, wherever you use her. So yeah, it doesn't really matter too much. Like, you're going to CR push yourself by 25% to what? Use your S1 again after. So yeah, you're pretty much not going to really get too much out of these buffs. I don't think this will change anything. These buffs are pretty minimal. Now we have Lionheart Cermia. So her S2 is being buffed so that it will actually CR push her by 20% after it activates. And as you guys probably know, it activates after your team suffers an extra attack, counter attack, or dual attack. And this change was kind of something that needed to be implemented when she first released. I feel like it was really awkward when she would like proc this and not CR push and just sit there. So yeah, there were some instances where you can actually strip the defense buff and the ER buff with like an AOL, if you have an AOL that's perfectly speed tuned. So that was super awkward, but now she will actually cut and be able to use her S3 right after, which is also getting buffed, by the way. It's going to have a damage increase buff. I don't really know if that is required because Lionheart Cermia's damage is pretty crazy with their S3, especially with the buffs on her, so don't know why they added the extra damage. Like, honestly, they should have just added the CR push only, waited a bit and see if she needed the damage buff, which she doesn't, by the way, and then add it into her S3 later if she still wasn't that great, which also, like, she's still kind of used right now in the current meta, so it's not like she's not used at all. So I don't know why they're doing this huge buff for her. Typical Smilegate not buffing, you know, small portions at a time. They're just giving us the big fat buffs at the start, and you know, I don't think this will make her as broken as like APOC Robbie was, but who knows. Like, this is like too much of a buff. I feel like it'll definitely make her pretty strong in the meta. Now talking about the Covenant 5-star units, we have Haste. Basically they're changing his S1. It used to steal buffs to actually defense break now, and you're also going to see they're going to reduce the cooldown of your S3 by 1 turn because they're also changing exclusive equipments where, you know, it used to decrease the cooldown of your S3, but now you can extend the duration of the bleeds, which won't really matter too much. I don't think you'll ever use it. I think you're most likely going to use the first exclusive equipment that is being changed, which will give you a 65% chance to decrease defense for 2 turns. So pretty much a PvE buff. He's going to be used in Golem a lot more now, and be a lot better there. So yeah, if you guys have Haste and you guys are looking for a Golem team, there you guys go. He's a good defense breaker. Maybe I'll put him in there because I don't have a Golem one-shot team running without switching over a lot of gear. So maybe I'll put him there, but to be honest, not that big of a buff. Yeah, Smilegate really hates Haste. Like, they don't want him to be used in PvP at all. Like, this does not matter for PvP. They really need to put him on a different like skill set, I think, and rework him. But yeah, now we have Tenebria, guys. So Tenebria is also getting a PvE buff, as you'll see. First off, her S2 is getting Restrict, which will be very good for Katie's. It also will have a Soul Burn down to increase damage instead of having it on her S3. And then her S3 will also go down to a 3-turn cooldown, which is very low. You're also going to see her imprint is getting changed. For her concentration, it will be effectiveness for herself, which will be really good for PvE. I think dual attack chance is actually better for PvP because sometimes random dual attacks would win. And especially with Tenebria, she can sleep people too, right? With her S1 if she gets brought with a dual attack, so it's pretty strong. And also her exclusive equipment is being changed. No longer will the S3 cooldown be reduced because you already have it built in now. You'll get a Gab buff for yourself instead of attack buff when you use your S3, which is going to be very nice for PvE. In PvP, it doesn't really matter because in PvP, the way you build Tenebria is pretty tanky with high effectiveness and also like on counter sets, so the Gab doesn't really benefit that much. but in PvE where you're building her full damage, full glass cannon, the greater attack buff will be very good. So if you're looking for a good Golem team, guys, just run Haste and Tenebria. They should be very, very good together for Golem. And I think Tenebria can be good in KDs now because of this restrict onto her S2. Now looking at the great Mort. So Mort's buffs are pretty interesting. His passive is being changed now so that it will not have a 50% chance to activate Sacred Blessing, which is that crit hit resistance buff and speed buff for himself. And it will be 100% chance now. So basically you're almost always activating this as long as you crit with your basic attack. Mort will have permanent speed buff, which is very nice, and he will give your team critical hit resistance buff. And yeah, they're just really pushing for a no crit meta, it looks like, so it's kind of weird. And the reason why the speed buff being 100% on him is very nice is because Mort really thrives with injuries, and the cooldown on his S3 is being reduced to 3 turns, albeit the healing will go down, although that doesn't really matter because you're just trying to inflict injuries as much as you can with Mort. So being able to cycle this even faster on a shorter cooldown and with higher uptime on your speed buff will make him very, very annoying into HP scaling teams. He will be very good. He already is very good into Lethe, the new limited unit, but he'll be even better now. So yeah, pretty cool. I think Mort will see a lot more usage. He's pretty strong actually in Guild Wars defense, to be honest, and you can actually pick him in World Arena and he's still not that bad. But I think these buffs will definitely make him a pretty solid pick in the meta, which is kind of funny to say after people memed on him for so long. Now we have the 4-star unit Silk, so they're basically changing it so you don't actually have to Mulagora her. The combat readiness is actually going into the skill just straight up. You don't have to actually use your Mulagora because Silk is primarily a PvE unit, right, for Abyss. But they're also changing her S2. I think they're trying to actually make her better in PvP by having her cleanse herself and also penetrate defense and do more damage. But these changes are very minimal. I don't think she'll use that at all anyways. I think her usage will stay exactly the same for what it is, just an Abyss on certain floors where you want a combat readiness push and also speed debuff. So yeah, I don't think this really matters, but pretty cool, I guess. Maybe they'll buff her again and make her viable for PvP. She is a ranger though, so she can hold Guiding Light, so maybe there's some shenanigans you can do there. But I think overall, she won't be changed at all in her usage. Next we have Suthan, the Moonlight 3-star. I'm pretty sure he was recently released with episode 4, right? Basically, they're making it so that he gets defense now that stacks, and he also will inflict 2 burns instead of 1. I don't know why they're buffing him like this. Maybe he's getting a specialty change, but there's just way better tankier burn units. We have Aramintha, we have Researcher Carrot, we have Bihu. There's just so many options. So even ML Flan if you have her. So I don't know why he's getting buffed. Maybe he's getting a specialty change to actually work in burn comps, but yeah, he is getting buffed and it won't change anything for now. So the artifacts, guys, let's get into it. So the first artifact being changed is Rise of a Monarch. So basically they're changing it so everyone gets defense now instead of just the user. This artifact was already pretty good. It was used on knights that don't really need Aureus or mitigation, and it would grant a barrier to one ally, which was very, very annoying, especially if you didn't expect it. But now that the defense buff goes to all your allies, this will act as a mitigating artifact. So it's a pretty cool buff. I think this will see a lot more usage, and I've even seen SC Arrowell on this as well, and it was not that bad, and even Last Starry Krause, so we'll see. Next we have Duxt Noctis. So this is currently running with Pavel. I don't think it'll really matter though. This is only going to be really used on ML Pavel, right? But pretty good on him, and it'll stack faster now and give you more of a buff. That's all that's being changed. I don't think it'll change its usage at all because it's only really used in Cleave because an ally needs to crit. And if you're playing standard, right, your Soul Weavers and Knights are not going to crit. Even some of your Bruisers won't crit. So yeah, it's only going to be used in Cleave. If you guys have ML Pavel, maybe it's worth buying now, but I think not that big of a deal. Now we have the last artifact, Steadfast Gatekeeper. This will actually be reworked. It's going to give everyone defense, and it'll also make the user suffer less damage from elite or boss monsters. So this artifact is going to be for PvE, obviously. It's going to be used on your knight to tank the boss, and should only be used if your knight is dying very, very fast, because Aureus damage mitigation and damage share is so strong for PvE and even PvP, but without the damage share for some bosses like Hades and Aznak, where there's so much AoE damage, it's going to be pretty hard to have your team survive. So yeah, you want to make sure you use this only in certain scenarios, and there's already good artifacts in Hall of Trials, I believe, that give you damage reduction to bosses, and also even Proof of Valor is pretty good as well for your tank if they're dying. So not too sure how much this will change things, but pretty cool change, I guess, because yeah, this wasn't really used that much. I think it was used in the past on Fire Lilius before she got changed. But now that she got changed, this Steadfast Gatekeeper is rarely used at all. So I think they had to rework it, and I'm kind of glad that they did. And because they reworked it completely, there's going to be a recall period, and you will get your mats back and you'll get charms back as well. I actually might just recall mine because I want some charms, so maybe I'll do that. Maybe you guys should too as well. Now we have the debuff that is being changed, Restrict. So if you guys didn't know, Restrict currently stops increases and decreases in combat readiness. So yeah, basically what would happen is if you tried to push back an enemy that had Restrict buff, so say like you had a Payra on your team and you S2 and you put Restrict on everyone, and then you try to CR push them back with like a Zeo. The speed tuning doesn't make sense, but let's say your Payra went first and your Zeo went after, and Zeo tried to push someone back with Restrict, it would not work. Now they're changing it, actually reverting the change so that it will work. So basically, Restrict will stop CR boosts, but not decreases now. And the reason why it was implemented like this, where it stopped decreases, is because Restrict first came out with Cerise, and Cerise was super broken. First picked everywhere in World Arena, and this was a meta with Bazaar as well, who was also picked everywhere. And if you pair them together, it was pretty much unbeatable, it felt like. So that's why Restrict kind of got changed to do this instead, increase and decrease. But now, since control is pretty bad, they're reverting it to actually only stop increase effects. So this might change the meta a lot. It is like a few days before Epic 7 World Championship, so I'm not sure why they did this right now, but maybe this will make control a lot better. We'll see. Let me know though what you guys think about this change, because I'm pretty excited because I'm a big control player and it feels like it's been dead for a while, but hopefully control will be pretty viable after this Restrict change. So yeah, let me know what you think about this patch in general. I think, there's not really much being changed. I think Rise of a Monarch might be a lot better now. I'm pretty sure Mort will be pretty strong now in the meta, and I also think for Golem teams like Haste and Tenebria is very good, and then Lionheart Cermia will definitely be a very powerful unit, which I don't have, which is very sad. But yeah, other than that, let me know what you guys think about this patch and what you're most excited for. And as always guys, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys want to see more videos like this, and I'll see you guys next time, and hopefully you guys are having a great summer.